Paramore's last album, After Laughter, released around 5 years ago in 2017, captured the internal monologue of someone beginning to lose hope. With upbeat tunes and bright colors slathered over more dismal lyrics, this album is no less conceptually solid. While not once acknowledging the global pandemic COVID-19 in years prior by name, Paramore's This Is Why perfectly encapsulates, in mine and many others' experience, the residual unrest the United States has been left with, both on a larger societal scale and a personal emotional one. The titular song describes feelings of anxiety and distrust, fears of saying the wrong thing at the risk of inciting outrage, fears of being lied to about the state of the world, and a general agoraphobia that many of us have adopted in the past years. The narrator is firm in their choice to not step a foot out the door, which at worst could be overly cautious, and at best be the sole thing keeping them between the risk of illness or death. As of when this video comes out, the world has gone back to normal, if such a thing exists anymore. And the transition from quarantine back into full public events has felt as though I'm finding my legs again, clumsily stumbling into the outside world like a baby deer. Even so, COVID seems to be having another wave. Numbers of cases continue to rise, and it feels as though we are being gaslit into believing the worst is over. The song states, "You say the coast is clear, but you won't catch me out." And who can blame them? It's scary out there, and the horrors haven't ended. The second track, titled The News, is quite explicit in its message. Listening to the news only further encourages feelings of helplessness and anxiety. Caring isn't enough. Sending money isn't enough. How much of the truth are we being told? How many petitions did we sign before we realized how useless we felt? How insignificant. None of us can by ourselves change the tides of a war, but by God will we watch the news and worry. The song perfectly encapsulates this all in the lyric, "Every second our collective heart breaks. All together every single head shakes." I can't count how many times watching the news has inspired spiraling bouts of hopelessness and paranoia, going as far as to inducing panic attacks at times. And I know I'm far from the only one. It's hard to stay informed and sane simultaneously. Paramore's solution is to turn off the news. C'est comme ça, translating to "that's just the way it is an anthem of resignation. And while being a French phrase, reads remarkably un-French, considering the French will riot at the drop of a hat. Haley, and I'm addressing her by name because this seems like a very personal album, she is clearly the narrator of these songs. Haley is resigned to her fate, reluctantly trudging towards personal growth, despite that resignation. She finds herself disillusioned with the reality of improvement, and misses the aesthetics of being not okay, the fire in it, and that's the truth of it. Getting better is boring. It's hard work. Nothing at all like the catharsis of screaming and crying, wallowing in the hole that you've dug for yourself. But you need to put that work in. That's just the way it is. Running Out of Time explores becoming unreliable to even yourself amidst the depression. Narrator admits that intentions only get you so far, and turns that regret into self-hatred, spewing admonishments, calling herself a selfish prick. The second verse is full of excuses from an exhausted and disheartened Haley, but it could be any one of us. This is what I sounded like just last month. Like, I listened to this album the day it came out, and I started writing this video a month later. I get it, and it's not a stretch to say that we all do. With this cloud of collective depression hanging low over all of our heads, it's easy to mistakenly fall into the habit of becoming overly critical and self-loathing. You're not running out of time. You just haven't had a fire under your ass in a little while. Hating yourself won't solve the problem, but at least you have a fun Paramore song to sing about it now. The following songs, Big Man, Little Dignity, and You First, expand on the idea of personal responsibility for the state of the world, deciding that while each of us citizens play a part in the commotion, those in charge politically and economically bear much more of the responsibility. The narrator sneers at these red-handed suit wearers and fantasizes about their demise while accepting that karma will come for her too. None of us are perfect, and we know there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but Jesus Christ, it's not my fault. I can stop using single-use plastics and carpool everywhere I go, but that's not going to stop global warming if some guy in a mansion is determined to make as much money possible by dumping toxic waste into rivers. So, kill that guy first. The last 4 songs on the album focus more on personal regrets, wishing to go back and do things differently, taking blame for the failures in past relationships. This album is about feeling responsible for everything, from interpersonal drama to literal wars across the earth. Anxiety and fear and remorse can shrink you down, and it's not reasonable to shoulder the sky in that state. I anticipate a lot more media reflecting those same fears in the coming years. whether intentional or not. We're traumatized. COVID has slashed a scar across our minds. The contemporary collective consciousness is scared, tired, despondent, and Paramore says, this is why.